Hi everyone! So before we get started today, we wanted to thank one of our listeners who reached out to us and suggested some places in Louisiana to check out. Johnny from White Castle, Louisiana sent us a message and we wanted to just say thank you for listening, and as soon as the world gets back to normal, we'll definitely try to check out some of those places. But now let's get to the spooky stuff. We hope you caught our last podcast on the tomb of Marie Laveau in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 in New Orleans. If you're interested in finding out more information about the cemetery or other haunted locations around New Orleans, check out our New Orleans Ghost Map app, which allows you to customize your own ghost tour along with several of our books. Today, we're going to talk about the historic home that is featured in the Murfreesboro book, Oaklands Mansion. Alan, can you go ahead and give us some information about the house?
After the colonies defeated the British in the American Revolution, the newly formed United States began compensating soldiers for their efforts with land grants. Now, those land grants were in western North Carolina. Colonel Hardy Murphy, he saw an opportunity to capitalize on the new land in what would later become Tennessee. Many of the soldiers who earned land grants, they didn't want to uproot their families and risk being scalped by Native Americans in those new areas because they just weren't settled yet.
One of the men who didn't want to uproot his family was a private in the Continental Line named Ezekiel White. He agreed to sell 274 acres to Murphy for £100. That's roughly $1,700 today. Murphy would go on to acquire over 40,000 acres in Middle Tennessee before his death in 1809. Colonel Murphy's daughter, Sally Murphy Maney, and her husband, Dr. James Maney, inherited 275 acres just north of the square in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. In case you are wondering, Murfreesboro was named after Sally's father, Colonel Hardy Murphy. In 1818, the Maneys settled onto the property close to a small spring. With slave labor, the Maneys built a simple two-room structure that connected to a kitchen via a breezeway. By 1860, the home had been added onto and remodeled 3 different times, and the family had acquired over 1,500 acres to grow tobacco, cotton, corn, and other crops. The Maney stately home on their plantation became known as the Oaklands Mansion.
Though the Maneys were a prominent family, there was much sorrow in their home. James and Sally had 8 children in all, yet tragically, Sally had to bury 4 of them in the winter of 1838 after they died from cholera. Thomas, another of the children, died 9 years later at only 26 years of age. In 1857, Sally died from an ailment with her lungs, and the Maney's eldest child, Louis Maney, took over the home. Unfortunately, like his parents, Louis also had a lot of sadness in the home, as he had to watch helplessly as 3 of his children died. In early 1862, after the fall of Fort Henry and Fort Donelson in northwestern Tennessee, the Federal Army marched into Nashville and began occupying the state capital. Shortly thereafter, they marched into other places like Murfreesboro, and it was seized and occupied by the Union. That all changed on the 13th of July, 1862, when Nathan Bedford Forrest rode into Murfreesboro and seized the courthouse. He kicked off what would become known as the Battle of Murfreesboro. But don't confuse that with the Battle of Stones River. That also took place in Murfreesboro 5 months later.
During the battle, Forrest's men encountered 400 soldiers from the 9th Michigan Infantry on the front lawn of Oaklands close to the spring. After a skirmish, Forrest accepted the Union surrender at the mansion and celebrated the victory with his men by feasting on black-eyed peas and sweet potatoes. While Forrest captured 2 brigadier generals and over 1,200 men, he actually paroled most of them and allowed them to walk away after they promised not to fight anymore.
After the war, the old plantation struggled to survive without slave labor. The Maney family was forced to sell the property in 1884. The home changed hands several times, but in the 1950s, it was starting to become a haven for the homeless, and the city began to make plans to tear down the historic house to make way for a park. Fortunately, a group of local women stepped in and saved the antebellum home and turned the house into a museum. Today, Oaklands is not only a popular museum in Middle Tennessee, but it's also an education center and a wedding venue as well. Oakland is believed to be haunted by the spirit of Sally Maney. Sally lost several children while living in the home and was said to be very, very sad. The fact that her husband fathered several children with their slaves, it was almost too much for her to bear. Sally's spirit has been spotted looking out of an upstairs window on occasion. One tour guide told me that he gave a tour of the home to a psychic one day. The psychic walked through the house and claimed to see a woman in James Maney's office. As they walked around the house and into the parlor, the lady stopped and told the tour guide that the lady in the picture on the wall was a person she had just seen. The person in the picture? It was Sally Maney. Sally doesn't like to have a lot of visitors in the home at one time and will turn lights off and on to show her disapproval. According to one of the guides, if they have a very busy day and a lot of people are coming in and out of the mansion, he will stop and apologize to Sally. In addition to Sally, the children have been spotted playing in the upstairs bedroom. On occasion, footsteps and the sounds of children can be heard running around the house. I was told there's a rocking chair upstairs that employees will see rocking back and forth all by itself. That's kind of creepy. I was also told there's random cold spots in the house. Employees be walking through in the middle of July and all of a sudden they'll be icy cold. There's also stories of shadows moving around Oaklands Mansion. I've heard people talk about them moving around, darting back and forth in the room, and I also was told that they've also been seen climbing the stairs. When I visited the mansion, I didn't experience anything out of the ordinary, but a friend of mine who went to an event at Oaklands at night, he picked up a few EVPs. The group that runs the property doesn't really embrace the paranormal, but the house is worth visiting, and you should go if you have a chance. But with that being said, don't be disappointed if they don't necessarily tell you about the alleged spirits that reside in the home.
We hope you enjoyed this episode on the Oaklands Mansion. If you would like to learn more about haunted locations around Nashville, download the Nashville Ghost Map app in iTunes and Google Play. Also, be sure to check out our website, southernghoststories.com, where you can find old podcasts and several of our books that we've written.
And those books Chelsea mentioned are Southern Ghost Stories, Historical Hauntings, Haunted Hotels, Ghost of Gallatin, and our newest one, which also has a story about Oakland's Mansion, Murfreesboro, Spirits of Stones River. Please check out the Southern Ghost Stories Facebook page, where we have some events coming up this month. We're doing an event at Nani's Bakery on October 30th in Murfreesboro. It's actually the second event because the first one sold out. We also have some other things in the works that we will be announcing shortly. We'll keep everyone updated through the Facebook page. Be sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Those reviews are very helpful, and we appreciate everyone who's taking a few minutes to do it for us. Please check back with us next time as we head to Louisville to talk about Cave Hill Cemetery.
We hope you caught our lost
podcast.
I hope it's not lost.
The Lost podcast, that should be the Lafitte's Blacksmith Shop with the booty in the barrel.
We hope you caught our last podcast on the tomb of Mary Laveau in
Marie Laveau.
Oh,
Her that was her cousin. That's Marie's cousin, Mary.
Shut up. I'm just gonna. Why don't
You had to say along with her
I just
books.
want to start over again. I want to start from the beginning. I want to start from the very beginning.
Okay.
Check out our New Orleans Ghost Map app, which allows you to customize your own ghost tour along with our Southern Ghost book stories. He agreed to sell 274 acres to I said it again.
One tour guide told... What are you doing?
Sorry.
We're professional podcasters, and you're watching YouTube videos.
It's not a YouTube. I was trying to catch something. Sorry.